Hello there, welcome to Science, Mr. Robertson. A quick video right now about going to space, because people have done it. Very briefly, there was a big mission, especially after the Second World War, to go into space. The whole space race really began in the 1950s. There was a big competition pretty much between the USSR, the old Soviet countries dominated by Russia, and the USA. The Russians were the first to put an animal in space. They had a dog that went around the Earth, and they also had the first human in space. However, it was the Americans who are most famous for getting the first man on the moon. That, of course, being the expedition with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin that went to the moon, and they were the first two people to actually set foot on the ground there. This happened in the 1950s, went on into the 60s, and a little bit into the 70s. It stopped after that. Basically, it got expensive. And these two countries, yes, they were hating each other, but they didn't hate each other that much. Because going to the moon is very dangerous. There's no oxygen, there's no water, there's no food. You have to bring everything by yourself and nothing can go wrong. We do have something that the Russians built and has been adapted by everybody in the world now. We do have what is called the International Space Station. And we have this orbiting the Earth, and we use it for doing lots of experiments, because remember, it's so far away from Earth, the gravity is tiny. Basically no gravity there at all. So it's a great place for experiments to see how gravity changes things. And there's been one Swedish scientist been there. Christian Fuglesang is the Swedish scientist who has been out into space. That's fantastic. But even without people, we can still do lots of great research. We have different objects that we call probes in different ways. Probes dive out into the universe to try and see what is out there. So we could be talking about trips to Mars, trips to Jupiter and its moons. A trip very recently, at least in 2016, that just went to Pluto. Lots of different probes can go out, because as soon as you get out away from the Earth, you even get even more dangerous, because the Earth has this magnetic field. It's got like a protective magnetic field. And what that does for the Earth is it stops most of the danger coming from the sun. It kind of pushes it away. That pushing away, you actually see in the northern lights. That's super important to us, and it's very hard to do that away from planet Earth. So at the moment, we've only sent robots out and probes, and on Mars we've got little things that drive around, but it's not the real thing. They can collect rocks, they can take pictures, but it's not going to those planets, and it's very hard. As we're trying really hard. There's lots of private companies now spending lots of money trying to get to Mars. You'd be very famous if you can do it. But I love that people are doing it, but it's very, very hard to do. However, we still explore around our own Earth, because what we have hundreds of these now. We have things called satellites. And what satellites are, a satellite is something that orbits a planet. Something that orbits a planet is called a satellite. There's two types you need to know about. Natural ones No? There are things that go around planets. There's one that goes around Earth. It's natural. It's called the moon. And we have those that are artificial. Those are the ones that are made by humans. These are the man-made satellites. All the different ones we have that go around the Earth. Now, these are fantastic for so many reasons. We need satellites to send signals across. If I watched the Olympics in Brazil, there's got to be satellites. You fire the TV signal at the satellite and it will send it to other places on the Earth. I need satellites to do that. In fact, all kinds of communication, all kinds of talking and Skype and all the rest of it usually travels in some way through satellite signals. I would also have it, of course, for that famous one, GPS. GPS, basically, you have lots of different satellites. One here, one here, one here. Here is Earth. And if I'm here, basically, jag kan ta tid för hur långt det är för att göra signal här och sen tillbaka. Göra signal här och tillbaka. And do a signal here and back. And if I take the time and I see where the different times are, I can see where I am. So it must be in between all of these different satellites. Also, really good for taking lots and lots of pictures. Super, super good for that because I can get up above the Earth and I can see all the different bits about it. And this is where I actually have two other different kinds of satellite. So, what I have, for example, are satellites that are polar and satellites that are geostationary. What this means is the polar orbit, they go like this. They go up and over the Earth. The geostationary satellites, they go around the side of the Earth. And remember, they are geostationary. That means Earth still. And remember, the Earth spins once every 24 hours. So if the satellite is here and I spin, it is Earth still. It also takes 24 hours to orbit, it's a terrible O, Earth. That is super, super good for anything to do with signals, especially like TV. Think about it. If you have a satellite dish, en parabol som ligger precis utanför, det inte rör sig hela tiden. Det stannar där. Och det är alltid fokuserat på en satellit. Instead, the polar orbit is not Earth still. It's always Earth different. It's always over a different part of the Earth. By being Earth different, it goes in new places. This is good for pictures. And if you get lots of different pictures of the Earth, it means it's really good as well for seeing the weather. I don't want the weather of Earth still satellite. It's nice weather. It's still nice weather. Still nice. It's always going to be the same. But if I have a different place, oh, it's nice here, raining here, snowy here, going over the Earth all the time, new places, more information. Here, I need the same place, so every dish can point to the same place. Thank you very much.